So you want to boost your CV as an English teacher. Which way to go? Do you look for a proficiency exam or a teaching qualification? In this video, we're going to discuss the options and perhaps help you find the best path for you. See you after Vinheta.
So Bruno, I think the first thing that we should talk about, because by the way, this whole new series is based on this whole new course is based on a question that we posted on Instagram, and then our followers on Instagram answered, as well as our followers in our YouTube channel, right?
Yeah, like 3 followers.
Yeah,
so follow
subscribers,
us.
our subscribers, yeah. You can tell how well how good we are at these things, right? Anyway, but anyway, in both posts, like, people voted for us to talk about developing as a professional, right? So professional development. And well, I think that for us, it makes sense that in this first episode, we're going to talk about 2 very important parts of it, which are your English itself and the qualifications you have for teaching the language. So it stands to reason that we talk about the English first, right? So the first topic would be proficiency exams. There are a great deal of there's a great number of people who speak English out there, but there is a difference between those who can prove it. Right. So and for that matter, I think we can separate. We can split them into 2 types of exams. Well, it actually could be more, but I think these 2 would be, the easiest way to understand. Right, Bruno? Bruno, what can you tell us about the Cambridge main suit exams?
Cambridge assesses English from a B1 to C2, if I'm not mistaken.
Actually, if you count on kids, from A1.
Oh yeah, since A1, yeah.
And for adults, the key exam is A2.
It's A2, okay.
A2.
And then Cambridge main suit exams, they will assess reading, use of English, speaking, reading, writing, listening skills, and they are exams for life. They don't expire. I believe that if your objective is to have something in your CV that states your current level of English, I believe Cambridge or Michigan exams, the ECP, which is part of Cambridge now, so I don't know how that works. So I think that would be the way to go. Yeah, and we also have IELTS and TOEFL exams, which are exams that expire. So if the objective is going abroad for a course or an internship or something of the sort, the university that you will be visiting, that you will be going to, is more likely to require an IELTS or TOEFL score rather than a Cambridge certification.
But then again, if you're a teacher, we're not talking about going abroad to work or university. So I think at least in Brazil, there is some sort of pressure that you would have the old CAE, now called Cambridge Advanced, which is the one for C1 level, if not the CPE, depending on the institution. And probably some schools that would be fine with a B2 level certificate, which is Cambridge First, previously called FC.
Yeah, and I think this is important to mention that your language proficiency is a never-ending story. It's a never-ending journey. So if you are today an English teacher at an A2 level or a B1 level, know that you're not alone. There are many teachers that are working on their language proficiency. It's just important that whenever you have the time or the resources, that you invest in language proficiency, because I heard Antonietta Megali say once that language is power, and I definitely agree with her. So the more language proficiency you have, the better jobs you're likely to get, the more opportunities you're likely to get. And there are amazing teachers out there who work with language development. I can think of Sergio Pantoja, for example, who works with language development for teachers. He wrote his Delta Module 3 on the topic. Walter, you wrote yours on language development for teachers as well. I'm writing mine in language development for teachers. So look for Sergio, look for Walter, send me a message. Or any other teacher that you know that works with teachers that can help you boost your proficiency level so that you can get these certificates. A B2 certificate is a wonderful achievement. A C1 and a C2, they're fantastic achievements. You'll definitely feel very proud when you get to these milestones. I know I did. Like I felt incredibly happy when I got mine. So
absolutely. And then I think we have another type of certificate, which there are two that come to mind. First, IELTS and TOEFL. I think it is TOEFL, isn't it? Anyway, the difference here would be that while the Cambridge main suit exams are said to be for life. On the other hand, the IELTS and the TOEFL, they will have an expiration date. They will expire within 2 years, if I'm not wrong, right? And mind you, there are types of IELTS and types of TOEFL. There are varieties of these, like if they're paper-based, computer-based, and names for them, right? I think that having an IELTS once in your life it's kind of cool. Okay,
I never did,
but I never took it. I did teach the prep course for IELTS for 2 years. I used to know the exam well. I'm not really familiar with it right now. I don't know about any changes. That it was an interesting exam. But the reason for these expiration dates for the IELTS and for the TOEFL is that these are progressive exams. They examine you from the B1 level up to the beginning of C2 level. Cambridge exams, they are like, if they're testing you on B2 level, they're very deep. There's depth in the exam for that level, so they can make sure that you are up to that standard B2, or that maybe you are a little below the level, so they can certify. Maybe you don't pass, but you certify B1, or maybe you pass with a great mark and they can actually certify you a C1, for example. That happens to all of these exams. They will definitely boost your CV. They will make you more appealing to schools that would like to hire you.
And then you have your language certificate, which I think I think we would agree on this, right, Walter? It's the first step, a language certificate. And then we have to certify that we should get certified that we know how to teach the language. Possible paths, Walter, that you see?
I'm just going to extend that. You could think a little bit about that whole thing with native speakers being better teachers that some people believe. For example, if you speak Portuguese, could you teach Portuguese to somebody who doesn't know it? That's the first thing. So just because you know the language doesn't mean you can teach the language. But you still, you got to learn how to do the job, how to teach the language, like understanding how to write a lesson plan, understanding the mechanics of a lesson, the procedures of a lesson, right? And by the way, we do have a course for that on lesson planning. So you look in the cards up here, you will see that course there. So check it out. I think that the first thing we can think of is actually getting a degree in letras. And you have that. So I'm going to ask you to talk about it.
It takes time. It took me 8 years to finish my letras course due to immaturity and work. And I was too young, I think, when I got in university, and it took me forever to graduate. It's a wonderful course. You're going to study literature. You're going to study lots of grammar and syntax. I studied Latin Letras course, which is interesting, and it's a background. It gives you a background in the field that, for example, Celta will not give you. Especially if you want to work in bilingual schools or regular schools, you are likely to need a degree in licenciatura, right? But definitely it takes time. Yeah, so you're going to graduate in say 4 years if you don't take as much time as I did. But it's definitely a boost to your CV.
Definitely, and I agree. And then we have higher level degrees, right, such as post graduation courses, mestrado in Brazil, and I think it helps you understand the science behind any on the course you're going to take.
And it's a little bit of speculation, right? I haven't taken a master's degree. I can only imagine what it is like, but
by the way,
it's definitely a boost.
The next one is one that we have just talked about. We have a series of 4 videos on it. It's the Celta, Bruno. So what are your thoughts?
I think it's a great course if you have the money and you have the time to take the course in during your vacations, for example. So 1 month and take the Celta. Celta is it's a well-recognized teaching award. Especially in language schools, bilingual schools who've been in the business for some time. I don't think it's likely that regular school will know the Celta. In my experience, a big portion of them don't know the certificate, but when they do, it's great because you sometimes just like the proficiency, you can avoid, for instance, the language test or a demo lesson that you would have to teach in an interview, which in my opinion is fantastic. I think it's worth it. Yeah, and then you can
check out the series, right?
Oh yes, and then you can look for Celta. You can look for Certiso. Celta, I would highly recommend CNA for Celta or Cultura Inglesa, Bruna Caltabiano. In Certiso, you can talk to Taylor Vega, how it works. I know that both courses are very similar with some differences here and there, but they are both very practical, 120 hours of instruction. You have a practical part. Just as Walter was saying, just click the Celta video series somewhere here, and then you have all the information there. And if you don't feel ready for Celta yet, and you want a more solid theoretical background on teaching and learning, you can look for TKT. TKT is a modular certification, so it would. I think the most interesting part of the TKT is actually preparing for the TKT and not actually taking the exam, because they are exams. So you sit down, answer questions, and that's it, right? But a prep course for TKT would be great.
Did you take it?
No, I did not. I was writing a TKT prep course for Troika some years ago, and then I got to know the exam, and it's a very interesting exam.
I took the first one. I have
nice.
the first one. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just decided not to go for the other two because I was gonna pursue different goals there, like the Celta, Delta. That's why I didn't take it. But I think they're very, they're valid, interesting tests.
Yeah, I think we can segue into Delta. Now that you mentioned it,
this is the one that is it's a journey, right? Like like it's the whole thing. It's a journey. It takes time. It takes money. It takes effort. It takes everything from you. This is not to say it's not worth it.
It takes everything from you.
It takes everything. It takes everything you've got. It takes everything you've got. Like if you really gotta put in the time and dedicate yourself. Like you gotta give everything you have. I love the experience. It was a long experience, but 1 year and a half. Actually, 1 year and 3 months, if I'm going to be honest. I think it's 6 months it was 6 months, module 1, 6 months, module 3. And then module 2, I took the face-to-face version of that. Went to Turkey to do it. I just learned that I passed. I'm very happy with that. And the journey is over. Yeah, you just feel that amazing feeling of accomplishment because it is difficult, right? It is extremely challenging and it's a lot of learning. And you're learning such interesting things for us English teachers. Like everything starts to make sense and you start to question everything. So that's why I think it's up there, right, Bruno? It's like one of the most important, things you can do for your career.
It's MA level. If you take the Delta and then go for Niles MA, you skip a third of the MA, right? So you get a bunch of credits for Delta.
Yeah.
So
and they're both they're regulated as being level 7. So in the off-qual there are 8 levels. So the Delta equates a master's degree, which is also level 7.
It is badass, right?
it is badass.
Yeah.
It is badass.
I'm starting module 3 this week, so I'll tell you later how it's going. Folks, I think this wraps up our conversation. If you're interested in CELTA and Delta, check our videos somewhere in the channel. We'll see each other next week talking about the CASA framework and how you can focus your development in different areas of being a teacher. Great. Subscribe, share with friends, and see you next week.
See you there. Bye.